Hey, what's up guys, Klein here. So for today, let's talk about a hyper-offensive red deck. Since BT5 is just a few days away, and I already did a purple, yellow, and a black deck preview, why don't we try making a BT5 red deck for today? So let's start off with the 4 copies of our Digitama, which is Digimon. So I chose Digimon because I just want to buff up my Digimons as much as possible. Because on this deck list, we're gonna do like tons of security attacks. And we just don't want to get deleted on the first security check of our opponent. So Digimon does a really good job on that because whenever our opponent's trash pile has 5 or more cards, our Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. Okay, now let's talk about our rookies. First, we have the 4 copies of Shoutmon, which is, by the way, a new card from BT5. So what Shoutmon does is, upon on play, we get to reveal the top 5 cards of our deck, and then we can add one Digimon with Shoutmon on its name, and another Digimon with who has a Blitz effect. So Shoutmon is really useful on this deck list because most of our cards here has Shoutmon in its name, as well as has the Blitz effect as their skill. And as a bonus, if our Shoutmon is on our Digivolution source, our Digimon which has Blitz gets plus 2000 DP. As I've said before, we're gonna do tons of security attacks with this deck list, so we wanna buff our Digimons as much as possible. Okay, moving on to our next rookie are the 4 copies of Agumon from the ST deck. So this Agumon is just straightforward for buffing up our Digimon because its inheritable skill gives us plus 1000 DP. Okay, lastly on our rookie list are just the vanilla Digimons, which is the 3 copies of Biyomon and the 3 copies of Monodramon. So this Digimon's the same as what I've told you guys before on my previous deck previews. Vanilla Digimons are just good for memory starving your opponent, as well as doing aggressive plays early on the game. So these vanilla Digimons are quite important even though they don't have any skills. Now let's move on to our champions. First we have the 4 copies of Dark Tyrannomon from BT1. So Dark Tyrannomon is just a vanilla Digimon, but what makes him stand out is his 1 cost to Digivolve. In this deck list, our win conditions usually are the level 6s, so we just wanna stock up as fast as possible into our level 6s, and Dark Tyrannomon does a really good job on doing that. And as a bonus, Dark Tyrannomon has 6k DP, so if ever you have the ST Agumon on our Digivolution source plus Digimon, we can attack with Dark Tyrannomon who has 8k DP. Not only Dark Tyrannomon is good for turbo digivolving onto our level 6s, he can also be aggressive on the early parts of the game. Okay, next on our champion list are the 4 copies of the ST deck Greymon. So what this Greymon does is basically he gives security plus 1 attack on our higher level Digimons. So Greymon really puts pressure on our opponent if he is on our Digivolution source. Okay, lastly on our champion list are the new blockers for red, which is from BT5, who is Monochromon. So Monochromon, finally red, gained a 1 cost to Digivolve blocker because I've been waiting for this moment since the purple, black, and green colors already got their 1 cost to Digivolve blocker back on their ST decks. And now with BT5 coming out, we can finally get a 1 cost to Digivolve red blocker. So Monochromon not only does a good job on turbo digivolving into our level 6s, but as well as defending our side of the security pile from tons of security plus attacks. Okay, now we're moving on to our level 5s. First we have the 4 copies of Omni Shoutmon from BT5. So Omni Shoutmon has a very interesting skill which they've introduced in BT5. So what Omni Shoutmon does is, if you are digivolving from a Shoutmon, you can actually skip the level 4 Digivolution phase and go straight into Omni Shoutmon by just paying for memory. So Omni Shoutmon, you can kind of turbo Digivolve into your level 6s because you're skipping your level 4 phase. But for cost memory, basically, that's also the same with if you Digivolve from a level 4 into a level 5. So I'm not sure if that's really helpful. But Omni Shoutmon has an inheritable skill wherein if your Digimon has Blitz, it gains security plus 1 attack. Okay, lastly on our level 5 list are the 4 copies of the vanilla Digimon from BT1, Groundramon. Just like Dark Tyrannomon, Groundramon doesn't have any skill, but he really costs cheap to Digivolve. So by just paying 2 memory, we can Digivolve into our level 5. And then maybe at the same turn, we can Digivolve as well into our level 6s. Having low cost memory is really important on this deck because with the Blitz effect, we can actually attack on our opponent's turn. So if we can Digivolve into our level 5 and then straightly, if we still have 0 memory and we Digivolve into our level 6, we can still attack and do tons of damage on our enemy. So Groundramon is really essential on this deck list just because it only costs 2 to Digivolve. Okay, now moving on to our boss Digimons, our level 6s, we have 4 copies of Shoutmon DX. So Shoutmon DX is kinda interesting because you can actually Digivolve it from a level 5 as well as a level 6. So what Shoutmon DX does is whenever we Digivolve into him, he gets the Blitz effect. So basically the Blitz effect is even though the memory swings onto our opponent's side, we can still attack with that Digimon. So Shoutmon DX is really good on just pressuring your opponent even though it's his turn already. And as a bonus, whenever we Digivolve, we also can add a Digivolution source onto Shoutmon DX. And if there is a Zigreymon or a Omni Shoutmon on his Digivolution source, we get to delete one of our opponent's 5k DP or less Digimon. So basically, most of the blockers, the new blockers with 1 cost to Digivolve only has 5k DP. So Shoutmon DX can clear up the board versus those blockers. Another thing is, as I've said before, we can Digivolve Shoutmon DX from a level 5 into a Shoutmon DX with just paying 4 memory. But if we are Digivolving a level 6 into a Shoutmon DX, we're just gonna pay 2 memory. So Shoutmon DX is really good on just putting tons of pressure onto our opponent because since we can put some Digivolution source on him, we can maybe add another Omni Shoutmon or add another ST Greymon onto his Digivolution source, and suddenly he does tons of security plus attacks. So Omni Shoutmon is really our boss card for this deck list. Okay, moving on to our next level 6, we have Zigreymon. So Zigreymon, we most probably don't want to Digivolve into Zigreymon. We want to Digivolve into our onto our Shoutmon DX. But just in case we don't have any on our hand, we can Digivolve into Zigreymon. So what Zigreymon does is, whenever we Digivolve into him, he has Blitz. And as a bonus, if Zigreymon is on a Digivolution source of one of our Digimons, we can actually attack an unsuspended Digimon if our Digimon has Blitz. So basically, Zigreymon is like he's like a fodder to be putted on Shoutmon DX Digivolution source, but he is like a backup level 6 on this deck list. Now moving on to our level 7s. Yes, I'm a red deck, and we are moving on to a new set called the Battle of Omegas, so might as well add our own Omnimons. So this new Omnimon is from BT5, and whenever we Digivolve into him, first we can unsuspend our Digimon, and then he has Blitz. So basically, we can attack again on the same turn as we Digivolve into him, even though it's our opponent's turn already. And as a bonus, it's really hard to delete this Omnimon because if one of our opponent's effects requires us to delete Omnimon or maybe bounce him back to our hand or bounce him back to our deck, we can just remove a level 6 Digivolution source and we can negate that effect. So basically Omnimon has two lives, and he can just wreak havoc on our opponent's board if our opponent doesn't have any answers on Omnimon. Okay, moving on to our option cards. First, we have the 4 copies of Gaia Force. So Gaia Force is just a straight up delete option card without any drawbacks. The problem is it costs 8 memory to play. But if our opponents gets security check with Gaia Force, we can play Gaia Force without paying its memory. So Gaia Force is really good on saving us from any dire situations because we just straight up delete one of our opponent's Digimon. Okay, lastly on our option card list are the 2 copies of the new option card from BT5. So this is Transcendent Sword. So Transcendent Sword is kind of like Gaia Force, but it has a drawback wherein your target Digimon has to have a 11k DP or less. But if you have an Omnimon or a Greymon on the field, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 15k DP or less. I'm not sure if there are any Digimons with more than 15k without you using any effects or option cards. So basically, if you have an Omnimon on the field, Transcendent Sword is just straight up Gaia Force. So we are now playing 6 copies of Gaia Force on a red deck in BT5. The gameplay of this red deck list is just straightforward. Just stack up all your great inheritable skills onto a single Digimon and then swing with a really big punch. So it's like putting all your eggs on a single basket, so be really careful on playing this deck because if that plan doesn't pan out, it's really hard to just get back onto the game. So if you like straightforward and glass cannon-y kind of gameplay, maybe this deck is for you. And that's it for today's video, guys. If you love the deck list, please do subscribe to the channel. I also have a Facebook page at SaberKlein. And if you have any comments or suggestions regarding my deck list, do comment them down below. By the way, I will be leaving a link in the description below on the video of the gameplay of this deck list so that you can check its power level. Until next time, guys, peace out.